Okay, when you say government, does that mean the local, the state, and the federal government? Are they all going to be working together on this same one?
They will have to. I mean, we live in a federal system, so you can't ignore the federal government. It was said at one of the sessions yesterday, with a single letter, a single individual, say a minister, can have an impact on millions of lives by a circular going to a government establishment to institute a new plan. And the state governments are similar. Local governments are important because they are close to the heart of the delivery. The requirements of a child being educated in somewhere in Maiduguri are very different from somewhere like Oka, where I come from, or Aba, or Lagos. So you need to have that local involvement. It's key, because what works in Lagos may not work in Okoto.
You know, I was just wondering, pardon me, Auntie, because, you know, it was also highlighted at that conference that some states at the moment cannot provide their counterpart funding as it has to do with the universal basic education. So I imagine that maybe people like to research into all those, find out, look, why is that happening? And if that were the case, how do you work on that to ensure that if you're going to get partnership from local government, the states, you will get it, irrespective of the challenge they have there?
So that's why I was in one of the design workshops on the structural reform of education, and one of the things that was said is, I mean, UBEC are doing a great job. Some people dispute that, but they're doing a good. And it was said, one of the recommendations that was said was that the capability should be transferred to the local and state governments, because you then cut out this states didn't access the funds. There are a number of reasons behind that, and normally you get into a conversation with the people who are responsible and it becomes a blame game. This is one of the reasons why we said community-based learning. Now I'm part of the Every Nigerian Child project group, like you said, and we're a diaspora-led organization, and because we're all volunteers, we've chosen to focus on one particular area, and that is the citizen-led assessment, because we feel it can have the biggest impact. And we've made a call to other NGOs, parents, individuals. I mean, you guys could do a lot in this to take on board the other recommendations and run with it, because funding is key. Yeah. But the easiest way to deal with an elephant is piece by piece. Yeah. So that's, as you asked the question, hopefully that's something you can come on board and assist with. But yes, it's an important point, and that's one of the other reasons why we feel, and I agree with those recommendations, that the number of parastatals in the Ministry of Education, the word ridiculous has been used, but if you spend 70% of your recurrent budget on administration and 30%, well, allocate 30%, even though 30% doesn't get there, to frontline services, teaching, teacher quality, training, there's got to be something wrong with that.
The issue of curriculum.
Yeah.
I mean, it was said back and forth that our curriculum's obsolete.
Yes.
What do we do? Because the system seems to pay more attention to paper. Now, for instance, right now we hear the polytechnics are somewhat treated as though they are lower than the universities.
Yeah.
Now, they have their place, the two institutions. But this is based on that. What do you have? Is it a BSc or an HND or an ND? Paper, rather than skills. Boils down to curriculum. What's going to happen? How should it work out?
So part of what has been suggested is to deal with the curriculum issue. It goes back to the early years problem. So you need to develop a curriculum that takes into account a number of factors. The fact that we live in a changing society, knowledge is changing a lot quicker than it used to. Therefore, the rate of change of a curriculum should be as such relevant. And that's why we feel in regards to the tertiary sector, universities and polytechnics, they should have a certain degree of autonomy in terms of what courses they run, what curriculum they keep to. The Federal Ministry of Education should have a sort of a QA role, if you like, and supervision and creating standards. But in terms of curriculum development and delivery, there should be a bit more of devolution, if you like, to the relevant universities in that regard. Some universities might decide to specialize in science and technology, and they'll become experts at that. But to have a university, I mean, even in the Western world, London School of Economics is a renowned institute, is a renowned university. It focuses on social sciences, economics, accounting. Massachusetts Institute of Technology is another one, focuses on technology. So you can already see in the examples of where it works, where universities or tertiary institutions have independence and they choose to focus on something, and then the pace of change is refreshed through research and development. And it's easier to do that when you have that autonomy rather than when you're being told, this is what you have to teach, and you have to do that at every university.
Okay, so this project now, what do we expect? Because when you get into a family, into a community, into a house, and you find the child not going to school, so at what stage would it be that you'll be talking to them to get their kids to nursery, the primary, the secondary, or tertiary? How would that work?
So we were partnering with UESO, who are effectively the ASA East Africa version of what we're trying to do in Nigeria. So this was started in Pakistan and India, like I said. It's now been taken up by Uganda, Tanzania, and Kenya. We had the regional manager of UESO at the conference, and she did a presentation on that. We're trying to develop something that would work for Nigeria, and there are various cultural factors that we need to take into account. So it's fair to say that we haven't finalized on the model of how that would be. That's part of what we're discussing. It would be very easy to just come and bring a model from outside. It works in Africa. That's one of the reasons why we feel it could work here. It's citizen-led, so there's a certain independence of government. But in terms of the methodology, and the methodology is almost set, but the content of that's being developed.
Okay, so do you intend to get a lot more participation from Nigerians in the diaspora on this one? Because it's interesting that they're also coming on board to help sort this challenge out.
Absolutely. I mean, this particular one, you'll need to be on the ground to do it. But in terms of providing the technical support and other things, absolutely. So there are, every Nigerian Child Project group, there were effectively only 3 or 4 of us. We're expanding that because we're just a platform for Nigerians who want to come and get involved. And this is one way that we feel, like I said, that they can get involved and make a difference.
Are they still as pessimistic? Because some of them are. They just think, oh no, why would I come and do this? But
it's interesting you say that, because we've run a couple of conferences. The first thing we did when we started this 3 years ago was we had a conference on education in London, hosted kindly by the Nigerian Embassy. It was a 3-day conference. We had people from here fly over to London, and then a good question was asked at the end. You're talking about Nigeria and you're talking in London. Shouldn't you be in Nigeria? So we had a conference in Abuja in the year after, February 2012, and for the first time, the Nigerians based abroad, I mean, some of whom have now moved back. So Dr. Adefeso is one of them. She's got a PhD and she's moved back and set up the tech center and doing work on this assessment. They were scarred, to put it simply, by their experience. We lost 1 or 2 of them because there were a lot more than 4 of us, because, like you said, they got a bit disheartened. But I went to a unity school in Nigeria. I'm a Nigerian. I might live abroad, but I'm a Nigerian. And what I feel is Nigerians who care, who benefited from the system, we have a responsibility to give back. And so we are going to face challenges, but we're not going to give up. And that's why I can say confidently, it's not going to be business as usual, because there are lots of people like me outside who are coming in and who want to make a difference. And to be fair, there are a lot of people who are now getting involved in government who also want to make a difference. So change takes time. Change can be difficult, but I'm certain that we're on the path to change in the education sector.
Because part of the reality on ground will be that, of course, as you also talked about, it's not going to be easy.
Yeah.
You will have a lot of impediments, but they need to stand the heat.
I think of the great Nelson Mandela, and I think of one of the things I read in his book. The thing that kept him going 27 years in solitary confinement was the vision of a free South Africa. The thing that keeps a lot of us going is the vision of a Nigerian education system that can produce quality graduates that can take our nation forward. So it is going to be painful, but when you have a clear vision, this is one of the things I said in the recommendation, when you have a clear vision about what you want to achieve, it just makes it easier. You can keep going. You might have challenges, but you can get up and keep going, and that's why we'll keep going. Every Nigerian Child Project Group is a platform that allows people to come in. We'll make it very clear to
Not just young people, every category. Of
every
Nigerians.
category of people, everyone who wants to get involved. And we'll make it clear to them that there are challenges. But hey, anything worth doing, it's worth doing well. So we just got to keep pressing on.
All right, that'll be interesting. So how about the private sector? Do you intend to reach out to them? Because they also focused on the private sector partnership here.
Absolutely. And it is very key because even though the government is probably the biggest influence in education, private sector has certain capabilities that they can bring to bear. Accountability is one. They can work with the government on that. There's several funds that have been set up, the ETF, the Tech Fund. And one of the things that was said at the conference was that they need to get more involved in terms of the, how can I put it, ensuring that those funds are judiciously spent, ensuring that reporting is done on that. And then also a key way that they can help is in the early years education, adopting schools, assisting schools, ensuring that they work with universities to ensure that the skill set that they require for graduates is being enabled in the graduates that the tertiary institutions are training.
Yeah.
So they have a huge role to play.
You're not afraid that they'll revert to what used to be in terms of, okay, he has a PSC. I'm stuck on that point, so to speak, but because something that seems to be, especially coming from the private sector, they'll tell you, not from this university or from that institution, we cannot employ.
And this is why one of the things we want to do, it's the second priority on my group's list. Assistant-led assessment is the first, is to support anywhere where you can create benchmarking statistics about the quality of education in schools. So if you like a system of league tables. So part of the reason why private companies do that is because their experience of graduates from those institutes that they've excluded is pretty bad. And
again, some of them are from those institutions.
Some of them are from those institutions, yes. But like we said, I went to a Unity School, Federal Government College, Lagos. The Federal Government College, Lagos that I went to 15, 20 odd years ago is not the Federal Government College that there is now. So yes, it's a challenge, but we hope that by putting in place these enablers like league tables, accurate statistics, we will give the private sector the confidence. And then if they're involved as well, so if they get involved in, so someone who goes to their alma mater to get involved and sees that there's a problem and helps to rectify that problem, will confidently be able to recommend graduates from their alma mater again. And they'll be proud of that.
Okay, all right. We'll have to thank you for coming on. Pt.2 Nnatuanya is the co-founder Every Nigerian Child Project and focusing on education. And thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
Done. Well done. Keep it up.
Thank you.